current situation of Islam in Italy, then Turkish membership, because Turkey is the only Muslim country member of NATO that the Italy, also member of Western security system. Turkey is also the only Muslim country who wants to join European Union. So and most of the resistance to Turkish membership, I would say people provide a number of reasons, such as Turkey is too large. Some argue Turkey's economy is not as competitive as other European countries. But one of the reasons, I would say, the most important reasons, which is not aired, but there, that is the Islam. I think European view or European attitude toward Islam is becoming, I would say, more negative rather than positive. And according to also recent survey, less Europeans are enthusiastic of Turkish membership. There is more opposition to Turkish membership, and this opposition somewhat linked to Muslim presence in Europe, especially the tension in France between Moroccan, Algerians, and French government, also the problem in Spain, and problem in London, as you know, the London bombing. Most of the Turks in Europe, they live in Germany, around close to 3 million. And as you know, the first time a Turk became a chair of the third largest German political party, Greens. Recently, Cem Özdemir became the co-chair of Green Party in Germany, which is the third largest party in Germany. When we look at Islam in Italy, what we see is that Islam is not a new religion. Islam based on Abrahamic tradition. Islam is somewhat similar to Mormonism. It doesn't claim to be a new religion. It sees itself as a restored religion or original statement of Abraham. So from a Muslim perspective, first Moses received the revelation of God, and then when the Jews ignored, then God sent the second revelation, that was the Christ. So the Christ from a Muslim perspective was the revelation of God, not the word itself, but the Christ himself from a Muslim perspective was the message of God. And from a Muslim perspective, when Christians ignore the message of Christ, God sent the word, the print word, the Quran, as the message of God. In other words, what Christ for Christian or for the Abrahamic tradition, Quran is very much functions the same role for Muslims. In the case of the Christ, the body, act, word is the message of God. In the case of Muslim, the Quran, the message, the God in the speaking mode in Quran. In the case of the Christ, God is in the acting mode. This is how the Muslim conceptualize and compare Jesus and Quran. And since Quran, Islam accepts Moses, Jesus, in order to be a Muslim, you must believe in Moses, you must believe in Jesus, and then you must also believe that the Prophet Muhammad was a messenger of God. He was a, let's say, mailman, delivered the message that the angel brought to the Prophet Muhammad. When Prophet Muhammad was 40 years old, then the Prophet revealed whatever Prophet heard from angel, informed the people around him to put it in writing. Eventually, what people put in the writing composed, and that became the Quran, what we know of. But the real Quran is the word itself, rather than when the Muslims pray, they don't read the Quran by opening the book, but they very much memorize and they chant, so that the chanting has the religious power more than reading it. Okay. Now, since the Islam argued that the Christians somewhat ignored the original message of God, there has always been tension between Christianity and Islam. It's very similar to Mormonism and Christianity, or let's say other Christian churches, because it claims to be the restored faith, the original message. And what made the life comfortable and easier for Muslim, there was no central authority in the Arabian Peninsula. In the case of Jesus, he had to work under the shadow of Roman emperor or Roman governor in Jerusalem. So he's somewhat constrained by the political power of Jerusalem. Whereas in the case of the Prophet Muhammad, there was no central authority. There was no centralized government. It was a semi-nomadic, somewhat a semi-sedentary population of the Arabian Peninsula, the city Mecca especially. It was the major city, but very small city. And so the Prophet Muhammad, when he received the message when he was 40 years old, he had to act as mayor, as governor, as judge, as father, as prophet. He had multiple roles. He had an opportunity to create an Islamic polity, or Islamic state, or Islamic city, because no one was there to challenge him. Only people who challenged him was jealous Arab tribes, some of them even his own relatives. But eventually, he somewhat prevailed and brought all these Arab tribes under his own control. There was no tension between Islam and Christianity in the early days of Islam, because there was no need. And most of the people in Jerusalem even were not fully aware what was going on. But a conversion to Islam was very fast and quick. In the Arabian Peninsula, within 200 years, Islam expanded from Arabian Peninsula to today's Afghanistan, and it reached to Damascus. Damascus at that time was the Roman city. And when Islam started to expand, the first tension interaction was Eastern Christians, Eastern Christian traditions and churches. The tension between Islam and Christianity very much takes place after the death of Prophet Muhammad. He died, he was born in 570, he died 632. So after he died, it was the period of the four major caliphs, and they very much led the political and religious leadership of the Muslim community, and during their period Islam expanded. But most of the expansion of Islam took place after the establishment of the Umayyad Empire in Damascus, and then after the Umayyad Empire, the Abbasid Empire in Baghdad, and Islam during this period reached to North Africa, eventually Italy. The first interaction of Islam in Italy was around 7th and 8th century. It is quite interesting that some of the first converts to Islam were the Germanic people and Germanic tribes in the north. But still it is not clear how Islam reached the north before it reached the south. But there were some presence or conversion of the Germanic people in the north of Italy, and they, what we know of this conversion from the archives in Vatican, that there was constant worry and concern, reports that the people are, some of the Germanic tribes are preferring Islam, but that somewhat did not go that far, and what we are seeing, the Catholic Church regains these Germanic groups or Germanic tribes. But in the 19th